What's up, MMA fans? Back to do part 3 of 2013 MMA prospects. This video will feature the Bantamweights. It's taken a while, work kind of took over for a couple of weeks, but now I'm off for vacation. I still am strapped for time, but I'm not going to pump out the rest of these videos. It may take a little longer than expected. I see it, heading into the new year, of course, and there afterwards. A few things before I get started. As mentioned in my previous videos, everybody knows that does watch the videos that I do not include any prospects that had UFC or Ultimate Fighter or Bellator, Strikeforce or Dream experience. Anybody mainstream, of course, I've left off, and a few other things I like to mention. I've tried to make these fairly unique. If you look at Bloody Elbow's scouting reports, year-end scouting reports, of course, they had 2012 and 11. I believe they started in 10, but you'll see no fighters in my videos on their list. And of course, Sherdog has their new Prospect Watch. I think the NOS Energy sponsored Prospect Watch. Again, a lot of those guys I wouldn't like to use, but I'm keeping separate from the Sherdog list, the Bloody Elbow list, and such. So, this video features the Bantamweights, and you'll see no Josh Hill, no Aljamain Sterling, who else? No Chris Holdsworth, no Sirwan KK, etc. Trying to make it a list of guys that are not greatly known but are still very highly touted prospects. Nonetheless, let's get started. Again, mentioned this will be the Bantamweight division. Between the first two videos, I come up with 45 fighters for featherweight and lightweight. Decided to cut this one down to 15. I actually could have went probably double that, but a lot of the guys are so unproven, even though the records show 8, 9, 10 and 0, they really haven't fought anybody. So I decided to cut the list down to 15, and let's begin. Number 1 on the list, Thomas de Almeida, 5'8", 135 pounds, 21 years of age, 9-0, 6 TKO, 3 submissions, and I believe they're all first round stoppages. I'd have to confirm his last fight. I know the first 8 for sure were Sao Paulo, Brazil, Shootbox. Of course, with that Shootbox training group, what kind of background you're going to get there with, training partners, etc. After watching his fights, he's a very dangerous and skilled striker, very slick. He's got a Thai background, and I've seen some of his Thai fights as well. Training MMA for less than 2 years. Of course, being a shootbox fighter, he's very aggressive. Power in his hands and his feet. He's also showed submission skills, and if you look at some of his fights here on YouTube and the links I'll put up, he got a slick submission armbar victory. He's got a good chin. He does get hit, a fair amount, like most shootbox fighters do. So that's one thing, you'd like to see him tighten up his striking defense. Just 21 years of age, there's still lots of time. Looking at his record, hasn't really beaten any big names, and he's fought a lot of lower level opponents, but at 21, what do you expect, I guess. If you look at his fight, and I'll put this video link up against Cody Williams, I think it was in Legacy Fighting, really entertaining fight. Cody Williams, throwing bombs the whole fight, and Almeida caught him, put him to sleep. Great fight, very short, so check it out in the link section. Other than that, he's got a win over another plus 500 fighter in Aroni Prodostic, who's 5-4. He shows patience and a good chin against Cody Williams before turning Williams' lights out. I'll put a video up of his submission video, and he had one brutal KO victory. It was a fight where he got dropped, so he showed some perseverance. And I'll put this video links up. Check him out. Another example of the massively young, high amount of talented fighters on the horizon in sport today. Thomas de Almeida, great start to his career at 9-0. The next guy I'm going to talk about is Patrick Callahan, fighting out of Dublin, Ireland. 24 years of age, I believe, 5'9", 135 pounds. 9-0, 9 wins, no losses, 1 draw, 1 TKO victory, 7 submissions. Fights out of SGB Ireland, very solid camp. With the likes of Conor McGregor, one of the best featherweights in the UK, I believe. Cathal Predred, 170. You know, he's making some noise and with some recent big wins as of late. So he's got some good training partners. Chaos Fighting Championship Bantamweight champ Patrick is also a purple belt, I believe, in Jiu-Jitsu. You know, watching some videos on this guy, it really shows how crazy people are about this sport everywhere. You know, with you know, fans, etc. Looks like he has a strong submission game, you know, decent striking. He showed KO Paris his second last fight with a KO victory over a tough opponent. You know, like I said, slick submission games, looks to have decent takedown defense, you know, and also confident not only surviving but ending fights on his back. It's a really good video / biography on MMA in Dublin, and it features Holohan, and I believe, I can't remember the other guy's name. He's another decent fighter. He fights the other guy fights Shannon Garrity in the main event of this card, but really good video. Check it out. You know, I found it very entertaining and, you know, very, very good for, you know, growing your knowledge in the sport. Really shows Allan has a grasp on things, and, you know, he's been training quite a while now, so check it out. There's also a video put up of Andreas Labbrand, you know, slick triangle Kimura victory for Holohan, you know, very rare submission triangle Kimura, so check it out. Very entertaining. Look at some of his records. He got a big win over Eitenbay Schlickschnaff, and forgive me for that pronunciation, but, you know, everybody knows my background from Cape Breton, and my accent isn't the greatest, so although Saranov moved down to 125, he's considered, you know, to be a legitimate fighter. He's got a big KO win over a fellow Irish fighter, Damien Roney, who's 8-3, and he avenged the draw on his record with a first-round submission in a rematch with Neil McGuigan. You know, still needs to be tested, but a young, entertaining, you know, charismatic prospect. Looking forward to seeing more of this guy. You know, can this guy possibly make the UFC or Bellator? Absolutely. You know, we need to get some more fighters from Ireland for sure, and this guy would be a perfect candidate. So, a guy to watch out for, Patrick Allan. Number 3 on the list, Matheus Mattos, 5'5", 135 pounds, 20 years old, fighting out of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. 5 wins, no losses, 1 draw, 3 TKO, 2 submissions. I believe he's got an amateur fight with a submission victory as well. Team Nogueira, obviously a strong training team, you know, with the likes of Big Nog, Little Nog, Renee Fort, you know, JDS, Anderson Silva, etc. You know, you're not going to get much better than that. Obviously very young, lots of growing to do. You know, but with the supporting cast and his talent, he could have a bright future. Good mix of power, speed, KO ability. You know, uses the low kick well. Seems to be very comfortable on the ground, as you'll see in, you know, some of the videos I'll put up. There's no guarantees, but if this guy takes the right fights for the next couple of years, we may see him on a bigger stage. Look at his record. His first pro bout, he defeated another prospect who was 4-0 at the time, Danilo Patsuko. Very tough guy for his first pro fight. And still the only guy to defeat Patsuko. Defeated 9-6 Ronaldo Figueira. And that's the guy who went the distance with UFC bantamweight champ Renan Barão. You know, and that guy also had a split decision loss to Jose Maria Tom, you know, another highly touted, you know, bantamweight / flyweight fighter. So, a couple of key victories for him. Some videos, I'll put them up on the list. You'll see a good Superman punch KO against John Pablo. You'll see a slick triangle against Danilo Palizincho. And also, he's got a homepage on YouTube here. So, check out the link section. Some interesting stuff on Matheus Mattos. Number 4 on the list, Allan Nascimento, Sao Paulo, Brazil. two different listings for him. I think ShareDar's got him at 5'9", and MMA.com or MixedMartialArts.com has him at 5'11". 135 pounds, 21 years of age, 7-0, 1 knockout, 6 submissions. Fights out of Shootbox Masakeo Gold Team. This guy has fought at 125, but I decided to include him in the bantamweight because that's where the majority of fights have taken place. Again, Shootbox training partners will speak for themselves. Maseo Gold Team with the likes of Charles Oliveira, Philip Arantes, again mentioned, has fought at featherweight, but he's actually big for bantamweight. So someday this guy could fight at featherweight. Very athletic and mobile fighter. Shootbox has very high regards for this guy. They call him Little Anderson. Still needs to develop. He does have professional kickboxing experience. He uses his Thai boxing to draw people into a sub game. Very active guard, attacking while he's on his back. Very quick. Moves well, using jabs and low kicks. Even though his submission wins dominate his record, he's a dangerous striker, and that's kind of what he's known for. Especially being in the Shootbox camp with that kickboxing background. He could use some, improvement, of course, in all areas, but right now for takedowns he seems to be limited to pulling guard, and throws from the clinch. So that's something I'll have to work on. Looking at his record, got a win over a high-level wrestler. Any high-level wrestler would give him problems, and he did have that was the case when he fought prospect Terry Ackner, the fight in which he lost the first 2 rounds, and he pulled off the submission victory in the last round. So he was losing that fight. That's something you can check out here on YouTube. 5 of his other 6 wins have come in the first round against low-level competition. Again, being so young, that's not a big issue. Working on his striking defense a bit. Typical Shootbox guy, he moves straight ahead. Kind of a brawling mentality. Possible bright future in the sport. He showed composure against Ackner and coming back and winning that fight. So check out some of his videos. Again, another guy to really watch out for, Allan Nascimento. Number 5 on the list, again, sticking with Brazil, and Brazil really seemed to dominate this category of this weight class. Half the guys I'm talking about are all from Brazil. Sheymon de Silva Moraes, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, 5'7", 135, 22 years of age, 4-0, 3 knockouts. Team Nogueira. Again, Team Nogueira continues to pump out great young talent. I don't have to talk about the high-quality training partners who get there. His background, he's had 60-plus Muay Thai fights, and he's only 22. He's been working on a jiu-jitsu at Team Nogueira. Ability to defend on the ground. He shows the ability to get up off the mat. He's got good balance. Hard to take down. Brutal knees from the clinch. Likes to work the body. He's got some big KO victories. Won over a 6-2 prospect, Pedro Arunda. And he's got a big TKO win over, tough Brazil veteran and previously undefeated Pedro Nobra, who's now 14-1 in his career. Check out the video links. You'll see some interesting stuff. Sheymon de Silva Moraes. Next guy I'm going to talk about is Mariel Israel. 135 pounds, 28 years of age, 6-0, 4 TKOs, 2 submissions. Matheus Mattos, Brazil. Top Life Amazons is the association he trains out of with the likes of Adriano Matan. Who's probably a guy Martin will see in the UFC soon, because he did sign a deal with Strikeforce. KO power in both hands. Punches and kicks. She's got some explosive finishes. Seems to be fairly patient on his feet. His biggest win was a KO victory in his last fight over previously undefeated prospect Felipe Rezu. But primarily he's fought very low level competition, inexperienced fighters. But at least he won in devastating, impressive fashion. I will put up a couple of video links. You know, at 28 years of age, I was kind of thinking, going back and forth, whether I want to include him, because, you know, he is starting to get up there, and at least at that age, it would have been nice to see him fight some higher level competition, but I decided to include him. Mariel Israel. Next fighter we're going to talk about, American fighter, Rozalia Chapman, Barberton, Ohio, USA, 5'7", 135 pounds, 23 years of age, 4-0, 2 TKO, 1 submission victory, 11-1 as an amateur. That's what I have him down as. 3 TKO, 5 submissions, all again as an amateur. Rock hard MMA. Background, I believe he wrestled in both high school and college. Freestyle and Greco-Roman. He's also had experience there. He's boxing experience. I believe he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu and traditional Kodokan judo. Trains taekwondo and karate. Brown belt and aikido. Big takedown defense, you know, in his victory over collegiate wrestler Tyler Salmon. Submission savvy with KO power, as you'll see in some of the highlight videos I put up. His record, he's got a win over Bellator veteran Dustin Kemp, which is not yet listed on Sherdog, but it is listed, I believe, on mixedmartialarts.com. Big second round submission over experienced guy, and he's got a big head kick KO over Joe Wagner. Check this video out. You know, great knockout video, which you can see here on YouTube. I think it was called Finish of the Week, but I'll put it up in the link section. Anyways, another great prospect, Isaiah Chapman. Next guy I'm going to talk about, Pietro Menga, 5'7", 135 pounds, fighting out of England, 24 years of age. He's either 24 or 21. I've seen 2 different ages on him. Team Cabone, 8-0, 2 TKOs, 6 submissions, 4-1 as an amateur, I believe, 3 submission victories. Has fought at 125, but very big for 125, so I included him in the 135 group. Very strong association with Terry Edom, Paul Sass, Paul Kelly, Mark Scanlon, Andy Ogo, Mark Adams, to name a few. Started training martial arts at age 6, and had his first pro Muay Thai fight at age 16. Submission wrestling at age 12, as well as Japanese Jiu-Jitsu and kickboxing. Trains in multiple gyms, Liverpool under Jason Tan, and black belt Luco Sergio, Oliver's Boxing Club, and SGB Mainline. He won the Jiu-Jitsu French Open Championship and also the British No-Gi Championship for 2011. I believe he also won a Judo Championship in 2008. The Great Northern European Judo Open silver medal in 2008. Coaches, and he's also a teacher of martial arts, I think at the Inspire Performance Center. And, you know, competition-wise, he has primarily fought low-level competition. Some of his victories, I guess you could point out, he's beaten a 2-1 Randy Sado and 4-1 Brent Crowley. So, you know, fellow prospects. But this guy's been around a long time, and, you know, he's starting to get some hype built up behind him. Next guy I'm going to talk about is Steve Swanson. And here's a guy, you look at his age. Usually I do not include anybody over the age of 30. This guy is 31, but, you know, I decided to include him. You'll see that when I get to the heavyweight division. I do have a pretty, you know, cool list of heavyweight names. But, you know, I've searched high and low to find some, you know, obscure guys. But some of those guys are over the bracket. But because heavyweight has a smaller group to pick from, I decided to go with them. But getting back to Swanson, 9-0. 5 knockouts, 3 submissions, fighting out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. You know, sometimes he has fought at 125. Jackson's Mixed Martial Arts Academy, Joe Stevenson, Aaron Riley, Clay Guida, Jolie Villasenor, Carlos Connet, Andre Arlovsky, Donald Cerrone, Cub Swanson, John Jones, and the list goes on and on and on. Arguably, you know, the largest volume of recognizable names in any camp. The older brother of Cub Swanson. Fights under boxing coach Joel Diaz. Jiu-Jitsu with Mike Moreno. And of course, MMA coach Greg Jackson. Although, you know, weak competition. He's improved as of late, and showed the ability to finish fights by both striking and submission. Again, his record is against low-level competition for the most part. His last opponent was 0-10. So how does that happen? How does a guy that's undefeated at 8-0 fight a guy that's 0-10? That's one thing in the sport I'd like to see get cleaned up a bit. How do we sanction that type of fight? But he has defeated Jesse Cruz, who's 7-3 of Black House MMA, a very respectable win. The rest of his opponents besides Cruz, their combined records are 13-36. So this guy, he's 31. He needs to step up. If he wants to move forward in this sport, he's got enough experience and his age now. It's time for him to make or break, right? I do have a video to put up. There wasn't a lot of footage from this guy, but I will put one up. I believe it's versus Sammy Saunders. The next guy I'm going to talk about, Michinori Tanaka, Yokohama, Kanagawa, Japan, 5'5", 132 pounds, 22 years of age, 6-0 with 4 submissions. Reversal Gym, Yokohama, ground slam with the likes of Shinichi Kojima, who was once a top 10 featherweight. Background, coached by former Shudo champ Tsuchihiro Katsumura and BJ Kojima. 2010, Shudo rookie tournament champ. Speed is one of his biggest attributes. Quick with the takedown shot and good transitions on the ground. His complements his wrestling, and he's very active with punches and submission attempts. So he can work and submit you off his back as well. You see this guy climbing the ladder in the near future. He has the ability to stay calm. Again, I mentioned a good submission defense, as shown in his fight against Takuya Orgua. Good ground and pound, and some decent work from the clinch. Look at his record. He's beaten some excellent fighters. Previously unbeaten, and a guy who I'm going to talk about here in the next few minutes, Russell Dolan, who was 8-1 and a hot prospect. Highly touted Japan prospect, and also at the time was unbeaten. Now he's 5-1. Akihito Ijihara. So there's a couple of big victories against some fellow prospects. I'll put this guy, I believe I have 2 videos, so check out the link section for, a couple of his fights. The next guy I'm going to talk about, and again, one of the things about this bantamweight video is so many of these guys, they're so young and they have, very small records, but they show potential, and after doing some extensive background checks, I wanted to include them. And here's a perfect example, Julio Arce. Now, 90% of people have never heard about Julio Arce. 5'7", 135 pounds, 23 years of age, Queens, New York, USA. 2-0 with 1 knockout as a pro. MMA.com, mixedmartialarts.com have him as 11-0 as an amateur. Team Tiger Shulman, Jimmy Rivera, Lehman Good, Louis Gadon. So it's some good training partners. His background, started training at Tiger Schloman's Mixed Martial Arts in Bayside, New York at age 13. 7-0 boxing record, and won the 2011 New York Golden Glove Championships, which you can see here on YouTube, his championship fight. He's won multiple tournaments and submission grappling competition, 2 expert division belts, 6-1 as a kickboxer. I believe he also teaches at Tiger Schloman's MMA. 3 MMA titles. He's got the NAGA World Championship, which is a jiu-jitsu tournament. World Amateur Kickboxing Champ, and again a black belt in jiu-jitsu, I believe. So very interesting prospect. Tough upcoming fight on February 16th against Zach Lange, who's 2-1 as a pro, but 5-1 as an amateur. And he's got an amateur. This guy's got an amateur win over top prospect Aljamain Sterling. He's beaten who was 4-0 as a pro and 16-3 as an amateur. That was a big win for him. He's beaten 7-1 amateur male Matthew Bones, so another guy with a winning record. He's also beat 6-2 professional fighter Chris Wright. So he's beaten some key guys, and he's got background in multiple martial arts, in both the stand-up and ground game. So a guy to watch out for. We'll put up some cool videos of him. Julio Arce. Number 13, or sorry, the next fighter on the list, I believe it's number 12, Jonas Bilharinho. 5'11", 135 pounds, 22 years of age, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. 3 wins, no losses, 1 draw, 2 knockouts, 1 submission. Again, another Team Nogueira fighter as they continue to pump out great prospects. And I'm not going to go through the list of the guys, but top-notch training partners again. Some of the biggest names in the world. Good throws from the clinch, KO power, kicking and punching. Loves to work the body, and he's got some impressive KO wins. One of them being body shots, which you'll see here on the on YouTube. I'll put the links up. The brutal body shot victory was against Andre Urso. Devastating body shot. Comfortable striking. Comfortable standing up. Good footwork. Solid jab. Throw straight punches, which is something I'm big on. Southpaw fighter. Knees from the clinch. Has shown some takedown defense, but of course, low-level competition, and it's something he has to work with and improve on. He is 22, so it's it's time to start improving and stepping up a bit. Low-level opponents, like I said, especially against the one fight he had a drag. He was against an 0-5 fighter, but he was 20 years of age at the time, I believe. Brazil is based on his, camp, his partners. There's an opportunity to grow there. There's so many fighters in Brazil. So, this guy at his age, he does have the ability to improve. And, we could see this guy on a bigger stage if he puts some more victories and he continues to improve. He's 5'11", so he's big for bantamweight. And I think we will see more of him. Jonas Bilharinho. Next guy I'm going to talk about is Russell Dolan. 8-1. 4 knockouts, 2 submissions, fighting out of Honolulu, Hawaii, USA, 5'7", 135. 25 years old, 808 top team. He has fought at 125 before, but primarily at 135, so we're going to keep him in that weight group. Some of the guys at 808 top team, Harris, Sarmiento, Valenico, Vitali, background, King of the Cage, X1 and Destiny champion at bantamweight. Agile, speed, and big KO power. He throws the bad intent. He's fought some fairly experienced fighters. Besides MMA, I believe he has fought in multiple submission grappling matches, and one on YouTube against Ian McCall, which you can check out. His record, big TKO win over the very publicized Tyson Nam. Of course, Nam is a guy who's recently defeated Eduardo Dantas, who of course Bellator bantamweight champ. Beat 4-1 Doane Haney, 5-1 Bryson Hansen. Bellator vet Rich De La Reyes. He's got a huge win over 16-2 Frank Baca for the King of the Cage championship, a 5-round fight which he dominated. And that fight, I think it might have been a featherweight. So before I mentioned, we had the King of the Cage belt of bantamweight, but I believe it may be featherweight. We'll have to do a background check on that. He's also beat 9-3 Masato Sanai. So he's fought real guys, not cans. Recent submission loss to the previously mentioned unbeaten Michinori Tanaka. Still a lot of upside to this guy. I think he also signed maybe with PXC. So he's going to have some very tough competition in that weight division. There is a video I can put up. Again, lack of videos on this guy, but I'll put one up. I think he's against Roddy Dutrow. A guy to check out, Russell Dolan. Next guy I'm going to talk about, Brandon Hemplenman, 5'6", 135 pounds, 25 years of age. Boise, Idaho, USA, Team Sklavos. Could fight at 125. 9 wins, 1 loss, 1 knockout, 3 submissions. Combat fitness as well as Team Sklavos, I should mention, where he gets to train with the likes of Scott Jorgensen. Jiu-Jitsu, changed this guy's life. He was in jail, I think, at age 16 for 2 years. I believe he started training BJJ at the age of 18. He's been hooked ever since. Of course, training with Jorgensen and the likes, chance to improve his wrestling, combat fitness. He does have some Muay Thai fights as shown on YouTube. I don't know how many. From what I've seen, he looks comfortable striking, and he's got decent takedown offense. He had a recent big victory, you know, if you guys watched that fight on TV against Paul McVeigh. And Paul McVeigh is, you know, of course, the Ultimate Fighter veteran, and, you know, the guy has had, I believe, around 30 fights, you know, well-known name over in the UK. But he showed in that fight, you know, good stamina, and he showed good striking, good kickboxing. So it was a big victory for him. He was called in on short notice and fought in the main event and came out with a big victory. He's also had a split decision win over near 50-fight veteran Oli Bradstreet. Now, a lot of you might say, who's Bradstreet? Well, Bradstreet's the guy who was, you know, he's got 3 wins over UFC veteran Steven Siler, 2 by submission, 1 by knockout, and, you know, Bradstreet has finished 32 of his 36 wins. So that was a significant win for him, and of course he's beaten 7-3 Jeff Hatton. So, you know, Hemplenman, of course, barring his fight with McVeigh, that was the deciding factor for me. To see him walk in there and get that victory, I decided to put him on the list. I have very small footage of this guy, but I'll put something up. Check it out. Brian Hemplenman. Now, the last guy I'm going to talk about, I've just added to this video within the last few minutes. I recently found out, and actually as I started to download this video, I found out that the 6th guy I was going to mention on the list had lost a fight a few days ago. Matheus Nicolau Pereira was 6-0-1, and he ended up losing to Pedro Nova. So I took him off the list. Even though he's a great fighter with lots of upside at 19 years of age, we decided to replace him with a fighter by the name of Mike Wooten. You know, basically haven't done a lot of background on Wooten. I have seen 2 of his fights. He's 5-0, 23 years of age, 135 pounds. I believe he's 5'8". Don't have you know, a definite size for him height-wise. So if anybody for sure knows his height, but I believe he's 5'9". But feel free to forward me that information if you do find it. Taking a look at this guy a little bit. 5-0, 3 knockouts, 1 submission. If we look at his, you know, his level of competition, it's been mixed. He had a big recent win over Alan Philpott, a fighter that's you know, gotten some press in the UK. He's 7-3, you know, so that was a significant win for him. One of the videos I'll put in the link here was against Rob McCrum, and he won that fight in the first round via knockout. You know, he looked decent in that fight, and it's at least I have some video footage of this guy where you can check him out. You know, still very young and rounder. I added him in at the last second. There could have been, you know, a dozen fighters I could have put in there. His other 3 victories, like Mark Connor is about a 500 fighter. That was a significant win, you know, because Connor's a very tough guy to finish, and although he didn't finish, he won by decision. His first 2 wins, you know, although impressive, were against very low opponents. You know, some guys I wonder why they can get sanctioned. So, you know, he started training in Japanese Jiu-Jitsu about 10 years ago, and that's something where I'm not sure how much that's going to add, you know, to your MMA prowess. But again, at least the guy was in martial arts. You know, he seems to be very hungry, and he seems to be a hard worker, and his goal is to get to the big show. He's not just a guy casually fighting. You know, so, you know, that's a couple important things, and he's training all aspects of martial arts. Shows good conditioning, and, you know, hopefully this guy can get some key training partners, because that's a big part of the battle too. You know, to get those proper training partners so you can really fine tune your skills and really get tested and beat up in a gym makes a big difference. So I gotta watch out for Mike Wooten. So that pretty well does it up for the Bantamweight division. So far in the 3 videos, we've listed 60 fighters, you know, Bantamweight, Featherweight, and Lightweight. I was going to do the Heavyweight video next. I may switch up to the Light Heavyweight and Middleweight, because I know the Ultimate Fighter 17 is close to announcing their fighters, and, you know, I'd like to get, I put a lot of time in the Light Heavyweight. I came up with some really great names that I'm sure nobody knows about. And middleweight as well. So, you know, I'm not going to change my video if the announcement for Top comes out, you know, before I get these videos out. I put a lot of work into it. So I'm going to maintain those names, and but I'm going to try to concentrate on those videos next. Again, so far the first two videos I got lots of messages and comments. I actually got a couple of emails from a few of the fighters I mentioned, but I'll keep that quiet for now. So again, thanks for the support, and if there's information you guys want to add, fighters you think could be involved that I didn't mention, feel free to send me some messages. And thanks for watching. I look forward to getting out part 4, which I believe again will be either light heavyweights or middleweights. Stay tuned, and thanks for watching.